If your small business is bad at marketing, it will die.
So you're in a great mood today.
Okay, yeah, I guess that was pretty direct, but this is YouTube. We gotta do clickbait, and we have to keep the watch time up. But more to the point, a lot of people are interested in marketing strategies for small businesses, especially for that really early startup phase, because creating something out of nothing is terrifying.
It's really freaking hard. We both did it, so we know it far too well. And I don't even know how we managed it sometimes.
Yeah, honestly, I sometimes wonder myself. It's definitely not easy, and there's no shortcuts to success unless you go viral like Pink Sauce or others that we've spoke about on previous videos we've done. But if you don't have lightning in a bottle, or in her case, botulism in a bottle,
grow up.
and there are marketing strategies for small businesses that you can use that will make success a lot more likely. That's what we're going to talk about in this video, based on my personal experience in the field on a day-to-day basis of running a marketing agency.
Exactly that, Brandon. It's vital to understand how to get a small business off the ground. So in this video, we'd like to talk about small business challenges and opportunities, figuring out what your audience wants, building a brand, which we talked about last video, and generating leads.
Yeah, that's a perfect outline, Kenny. So we'll start with the challenges and opportunities for context, and then we'll spend a long time on figuring out what your audience wants, because that's super important. Then we're going to get into brand building and generating leads so that everyone watching this can take away a few practical tips.
Awesome. So why don't you tell me about what makes running a small business hard?
Okay, so the reason why small businesses in general are harder to run is because you have to figure out a lot from scratch. Even if you take notes from peers and competitors, there's just a ton of trial and error and soul searching and experimentation. It takes time to get it right.
And everyone struggles, whether you're the classic American entrepreneur working out of their garage or a niche Etsy seller competing with other small businesses. It's all about limitations.
Yes, and that gets to the heart of one of the biggest issues that small businesses have, and that's resource limitation. You have to make a lot out of a little. You have to make do with a very tight budget and very little staff, and sometimes no staff. That's very hard. But the flip side is that it forces you to be creative in your marketing, and from that limitation, you can come up with some ideas that the bigger players just don't even consider, because it's not the easiest path to success.
That's right, it's like being resourceful out of a necessity. Like, I know I only have X amount of resource, and that could be how many hours in a day I have, the amount of money in my bank account, or the stock in my warehouse.
Exactly. So a big company can spend thousands on ads very easily, or pump out a million different samples, just because they have the resources to speed up the process.
But if you're a startup, you might have to use your limited resource to crowdfund your product or pay for production, which can have the knock-on effect of attracting new customers less expensively. Now, one thing I know for sure, and that's small businesses struggle because their name isn't well known.
Oh yeah, and lack of brand recognition is a big challenge too. So for small businesses, competing against big names is tough. And heck, even competing against other small businesses in the same space are still your competitors too.
Do you know who I am?
But then again, you can turn this challenge into an opportunity. Everyone loves to root for a small business. Even small businesses root for other small businesses. Like, look at Instagram local businesses sometimes.
This is what I know from my freelance work. If you know the small folk, they will ultimately recommend to other small businesses out there. And if any of those smaller businesses get big, you may be in for a chance for that chunk that you've created a solid relationship for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's hard to get it right in the first place, but once you get that built up loyalty, it's easier to keep. And as that loyalty grows, so does your audience base, and it's a really lovely cycle. So right off the bat, you can see that any good small business marketing strategy needs to get a great return on investment, and it needs to be focused on winning over customers for life.
So how do you find the right people? We're on YouTube, so this is where we hope to find our audience. That will connect us. But what about non-YouTubers?
Okay, so identifying your target market is a really big deal, and it's not always clear where it is at first, as it's very hard to pinpoint who your audience is. More on that later. But once you do, it's life-altering. So this will boil down to market research and listening to early feedback. This is going to let you adjust your product or service offerings and your marketing approach to better suit your customers.
That makes perfect sense. Every target demographic you target will be needed to be targeted differently.
Exactly, and this goes hand in hand with how you stand out. Now, it could be your product, it could be your story, it could be your approach, but no matter what, you need a unique selling proposition. That will help you find the right niche and cut through all that noise.
I'm Batman.
So in short, the bad part of this is that you have to start from nothing or from very little. The good part is that you have the freedom to pursue a very tiny niche instead of trying to make something for everyone all at once.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. But how do you actually figure out what your audience wants?
Well, that's $1 million question, right? Everything I've told you so far, it's all context. You needed to know that first. Know what's easy and what's hard in small business marketing. Now we can actually talk about how to figure out what your audience wants. You don't want to make something and just hope that people buy it. You need to have a specific target audience in mind from day one. And you need to make the product or service specifically for them. And when you do this, you achieve product market fit, or PMF for short. If you get PMF right, all your marketing operations are going to be easier. If you get PMF wrong, you're going to struggle every single day.
So when people say, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, that's just flat out wrong, man.
Plainly wrong?
Yeah, even the biggest companies in the world have to follow these rules. And if you see products and services that seem like no one likes them, then one of two things is probably going on. One, you've either got some diehard audience that you don't know about, or two, they used to have diehard fans and are drifting off of years of goodwill from the past. But small businesses, they don't have that luxury.
You need to get into your target audience's head rent-free, just like the ex you forgot about. Oh, sorry about that.
That's right. You have to understand their lifestyle and the problems they deal with and what they value. Where do they get their information? How do they make their decisions? You see, the more questions you ask like this, the more you know, the better. And if you're not sure who your target audience is and what they value, start with your best guess, and then you'll use market research to kind of correct your assumptions over time.
Okay, market research. Go on, Brandon. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, so basically this can take a lot of different forms. The most important thing to pay attention to is how people feel and think with an open mind. So you'll start by researching online, go to their social media posts or subreddits. A large general consensus, whether it's just an echo chamber or not, is still market research. You can also use formal tools like surveys and focus groups, or just spark up a conversation with people at a convention or other event. All of that's market research, folks.
Just get lost in the source, folks. Let it submerge you.
That's one way to say it. Now, there's no substitute for this kind of research, though. There's just none.
At some point, you have to actually start making a thing to sell, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of part of research, too. That's where the idea of building in public comes in handy. So as you make your product or service, you can share your development process with your audience. And what that's going to do is build up trust and help you pull in leads. And the whole time, you'll get real-time feedback, which will allow you to slowly push your product toward a better product market fit.
It's a whole game designer model on Steam with like early access. Like, can you do this with other services too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even marketing agencies and consulting firms and other businesses that do stuff like that can come up with initial packages and proposals for their early clients, get their feedback, and revise them as they learn more. It's called a service pilot. No matter what you sell, the idea is to create a minimum viable product or a minimum viable service. That is the most basic version of your product that you can sell. And you test it, you iterate it, and you improve.
So it's realistically about growing over time and in full view of your early customers, right in the nude.
That's exactly right. In fact, I've got a client who writes fiction and he relies on beta readers. He completes his manuscript, which is his minimum viable product. The beta readers, who all fall in his target audience, let him know what they think. He can then revise the book and in that way assure a better product market fit. And this is fiction, mind you. And even though he works in the service of art, it's still market research. He reads books and he talks to readers. That's market research too.
That's actually genuinely fascinating. I had no idea publishing worked like that.
Yeah, neither did I. I only learned this in the last few years through our work together.
Every day's a school day, I say. But let's talk about branding. We spoke about personal branding in our previous video, which you can watch in the top right-hand corner, but let's get into it for small businesses.
Yeah, sure. Now with branding, I want to clarify one thing first. You still take the same experimental approach with branding. You need to create a minimum viable brand and test it with your audience and see how they react. Branding, after all, is inseparable from how people see your product or your service anyway.
So, what if I needed to make a brand in a hurry? What would I do? Can you just give me something like a checklist? Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, sure. In fact, I'll actually pull up my agency's brand guidelines because I can actually explain all the decision making that went into putting them together. Now, before I do this, I want to say we actually don't have to do any real lead gen. We run entirely on referrals, so in that sense, we're not concerned about social media or anything like that. Here's our brand guidelines document. You obviously don't need something like this if you're just getting started making your own startup, but you can do this if you like.
Ooh, this is new. I don't think I've seen this, Brandon.
Yeah, we just put it up a few weeks ago. We were due for a brand refresh anyway, but more to the point, we start with our brand position and we answer questions of why does Pangea marketing need to exist? That is, we talk about who we're serving and what we do and how we do it and why we're doing it.
Sometimes I wonder that myself. Why do we even exist?
Existential.
Quite right, but your branding document, it's basically a way of saying, this is who we are, and this is why we exist.
Exactly. It gives a company something like a sense of self. And then we have the external version of our brand position, where we talk about why people would choose us over another agency. And here I should note that we're not talking about why we're better than every other agency in the world. We just talk about why you might pick us over, say, another option in the Chattanooga area.
Now I see you get into brand values next, right?
Yeah, that's right. And here what we do is we basically just talk about the things that really matter to us. What do we actually care about? And for us, it's being able to provide tailored or personalized service. So that's all the way up at the top. We care about being comprehensive. That is, offering a full solution instead of being, say, just a web agency or just an SEO agency. And then we talk about how we put our clients first and how we want to make marketing services accessible and available. Now, this is nothing earth-shattering here, mind you. It's just some general principles that we like to follow.
And if Brandon sold you on Pangea marketing, go to his website and get a consultation. He'll sort you right out. Next, we've got word marks, logos, and the guidelines towards them.
That's right. And as far as this goes, my advice is basically just pick a logo, pick a word mark, pick a color palette, go with what you like, what your customers like, and what feels right. Canva is an awesome tool to get started, and there are lots of templates so you don't have to create anything from scratch. The same thing is true with typography.
Interesting. And then you say something about brand voice, iconography, and photography.
Yeah, that's right. So without getting too much into the weeds on this as well, what we do is we have very straightforward guides on how we want the company to sound when we make content. We have guides on the kind of icons and photos that we like to use in our branded materials. We like to use the mountain themes and local photography because that's what we like using.
He's a clever guy, isn't he, Brandon? But as a quick summary, guys, if you want to make a brand, you would want to define your brand position, your brand values, your logo and your word mark, your typography, your color palette, your brand voice, your iconography, photography, and put all those together in a beautiful guideline.
Exactly right. And the most important thing here is to start small, but in an at least somewhat organized way, and then pivot and change as you learn more. Now, I know this company guide looks pretty polished, but this is a result of like 4 or 5 years of experimentation and refinement based on what people respond to.
This is all great. You've talked about finding your audience, building a minimum viable product, and branding your company. But there's one more thing I'm curious about, Brandon.
Yeah, hit me.
Okay, I'm winding up a big punch question here. How do you actually get them to pay attention? That's so friggin' hard.
Oh god, yeah, it's definitely hard. You're talking about generating leads, right?
I'm talking about generating them leads, my friend.
Okay, cool. So let's get into some hands-on lead gen methods that you can use that are especially powerful for small businesses. So first, nothing beats the trust that you build through a recommendation from a satisfied customer. If you achieve high PMF and you really know your target market, this will probably happen on its own, but you can and should also encourage your customers to spread the word and maybe offer them incentives for referrals.
It's as they say, happy customers are better marketers than we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, the best marketing is designed to get word of mouth. But beyond that, email marketing is another good way to stay in touch with your audience. With the right setup, you can personalize, segment, and target your communication based on customer preferences. And when the time is right, people will buy.
So this can be everything from an e-commerce store launching a new product to a real estate agent keeping in touch until you buy a house from them. I really feel like I get at least 10 emails a week from the ones I've signed up for.
Exactly. Email marketing is very high ROI when you do it right, and it's very versatile too. If you're getting started for the first time, check out MailChimp, Klaviyo, or ConvertKit. Now on to content and social media. Whether it's informative blog posts or engaging videos or interactive social media content, it's about attracting and engaging potential customers. Share your knowledge, tell your brand story, and build a community.
Do a meme as well. I mean, like, have you seen the official Teletubbies and Duolingo, like, Instagram?
I've obviously seen Duolingo, but not Teletubbies. Oh my god. Yeah, I did not know that was a thing.
It's content that gets people talking and sharing.
Right on. It often doesn't require a lot of money, just time. And don't forget about SEO. Optimizing your website helps you rank higher in search results. Focus on keywords, mobile optimization, and just creating quality content overall. Being visible when people search for what you offer is crucial.
Just like a good Tinder profile. Now, if you have no idea what tools to use, what are some good ones?
So you've got Google Sitekit, GT Metrics, SEO Site Checkup, and for WordPress users, all-in-one SEO. Each of those is free. They can all help you optimize your SEO. But beyond that, really can't emphasize this enough, all you have to do is make pages and posts that people will be searching for. You want to rank on the keywords and phrases that have relatively few results for the search volume. Now I'm going to be honest, this gets technical, and we'll do a future video on this, but that's going to come much later.
But your general point is, if you do it right, people will find you at the exact time they're looking for someone like you.
Exactly. Now for local marketing and events, this is obviously going to be different for every community, but find local groups, collaborate with local businesses, and participate in or host community events. Bookstores host book clubs, bars have trivia nights, professional service providers go to Chamber of Commerce mixers.
Basically, if you have a store, what service can you provide to build a community?
That's right. And lastly, even though ads are more on the expensive side, don't overlook them. Some well-placed ads on social media can help you pull in people quickly. And this is especially true if you have good-looking landing pages for people to go after they click on the ad.
So what you're getting at, Brandon, is that you want a mix of organic people-focused strategies, technical expertise, and maybe some paid advertising too.
That's right. And the right cocktail for every business is going to differ, but the basic ingredients don't change.
Oh, I could go for a good gin and tonic right now. But to conclude, guys, we're trying to say that small business marketing strategies aren't easy, but they're so freaking important to get right. It's important to know your weaknesses and strengths before going forwards.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And no amount of hands-on advice in the world is going to help if you don't embrace the spirit of experimentation.
Absolutely. Now, as you're likely aware, we have future content on the subject in our Mastering Digital Marketing playlist, which you can find here.
If there's anything that we've missed or anything you want us to cover or expand upon more, please let us know down in the comment section below. We will read every single one of those comments and we're going to answer any questions that you send in.
And once again, thank you for watching our marketing strategies for small businesses. We really hope you learned something here. And if you're new here, make sure to smash your brain against that subscribe button and tickle that bell so you know when the next video goes live. And from Brandon and I, we hope to see you next week.